All right, good afternoon. I can tell you I've gotten a lot of questions on Ukraine before I showed up here. So I can tell you that the Secretary General is greatly concerned with the latest reports of increased ceasefire violations, including the use of heavy weapons across the contact line in eastern Ukraine. We are particularly concerned regarding reports of civilian casualties, targeting of civilian infrastructure, and evacuations. We underline our call for an immediate cessation of hostilities, maximum restraint, and for all parties to avoid any action and statements that would escalate tensions further. All issues must be addressed through diplomacy. Later today, the Secretary General will travel to the Democratic Republic of the Congo to begin a 3-day visit, during which he will attend the 10th summit of the Regional Oversight Mechanisms of the Peace, Security, and Cooperation Framework for the Democratic Republic of the Congo in the region. Tomorrow morning, he will begin his visits in eastern provinces of Ituri and North Kivu to express his solidarity with people who continue to be impacted by violence and instability. He will meet people displaced by conflicts as well as local authorities. We will share detailed updates with you as the trip evolves. And I want to flag for you a very important statement made by the High Commissioner for Refugees today, Filippo Grandi. And he said, in which he expresses deep concern by the increasing number of incidents of violence and serious human rights violations against refugees and migrants at various European borders, several of which have resulted in tragic loss of life. Mr. Grandi noted that violence, ill treatment, and pushbacks continue to be regularly reported at multiple entry points at land and sea borders within and beyond the European Union, despite repeated calls by UN agencies, intergovernmental organizations, and NGOs to end such practices. Mr. Grandi notes that with few exceptions, European states have failed to investigate such reports despite mounting and credible evidence. He pointed out that people fleeing war and persecution have few available options. Mr. Grandi stressed that walls and fences are unlikely to serve as a meaningful deterrent and that they will just contribute to greater suffering of individuals in need of international protection, particularly women and children, and prompt them to consider different, often more dangerous routes and likely risk lives further. A quick update from our UN country team in Iran and on COVID. Led by the Resident Coordinator Stefan Priesner, they continue to support the government's response to the health, humanitarian, and socio-economic needs from the COVID-19 crisis. The country team contributes to boosting the overall health system, disease surveillance and outbreak response, and vaccine cold chains. In January, WHO provided 6 sets of advanced genomic sequencing equipment to 3 diagnostic centers in Iran. The UN team is also providing increased social protection services for those most vulnerable, delivering job creation, skills training, and education opportunities. The initiatives contributed to the creation of over 3,000 jobs and provided support to livelihoods to 4,500 households, with most recipients being women. As of February, 65% of the population in Iran had been fully vaccinated, with the national program now providing boosters to all people 18 years or older. To date, the UN facilitated delivery of almost 14 million COVID-19 vaccines through COVAX, was partly paid for by the Iranian government and partly also from Japan, Germany, and Italy. And today, in case you had forgotten, is International Mother Language Day. The theme this year is using technology for multilingual learning, challenges and opportunities. It raises the potential role of technology to advance multilingual education and support the development of quality teaching and learning for all. UNESCO warns that linguistics diversity is increasingly threatened as more and more languages disappear. According to UNESCO, globally, 40% of the population does not have access to an education in a language they speak or understand. And our thanks today go to our friends in Moldova and Bhutan. Both of them paid their dues in full, taking us to 60 on the fully paid good list. And just a note, a housekeeping note, some of you, there are ongoing technical issues. We don't have our friends online, and that's because during a planned shutdown of electricity In our headquarters campus on Saturday for electrical testing and maintenance, an issue arose that resulted in unplanned power shutdown of the Information and Communication Technology Data Center at UNHQ. As a result, UN websites, including UN.org, and a number of departments, including some member states' missions, were not functioning, as well as some local headquarters applications, databases, and IT services. The page, the UN.org page was restored this morning and available online. The work to restore other services is ongoing. A lot of calls about this, speculation of some malfeasance, external malfeasance, but I can tell you this is what we would call in football an own goal. But I know our colleagues in the technical services are trying to fix things as quickly as possible. Ms. Lederer, let's use your mother tongue and speak English.
Thank you, Steph. And well, let's hope that comes back soon so our colleagues can also ask some questions. I assume you might get some texts. On the Secretary General and Ukraine, the Secretary General has offered his good offices. Has anybody responded and asked him to use his good offices?
The Secretary General continues to be in contact, and his staff continue to be in contact with various parties, but there is no good offices mission that I can share with you.
Okay, and a second question on Mali. The military government announced today that they were going to rule for up to 5 years. Does the Secretary General have any reaction?
Well, to reiterate what we've said about Mali and other places where there have been coups, we would like to see a transition as quickly as possible and in time frame that would be that would see the restoration of democratic rule quickly. Yes, sir.
Hi, Stefan. I have several questions. First question is, of course, concerning Ukraine, because this morning, Russian Security Council had a meeting. It seems everybody agreed that to recognize Donetsk and Lugansk as independent states, and we have been told that the Russian President Vladimir Putin will make a TV address soon on this issue. So what would be the response from the United Nations?
Well, let's wait for an announcement for me to respond. What I can tell you and reiterate our position, which that the United Nations fully supports the independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of Ukraine within its internationally recognized borders, as stated very clearly in relevant General Assembly resolutions. And again, we would encourage everyone involved to refrain from any unilateral decision or unilateral action that could undermine the territorial integrity of Ukraine, and the implementation of the Minsk agreements, I think, is endorsed by the Security Council, and with regards to the status of Donetsk and Luhansk.
And the second question is about the abducted UN staff in Yemen, because we know a week ago, like there were five staff kidnapped in Yemen. What's the latest situation? Because we have some report from the local news agency said that the local tribal leaders tried to mediate, and it got failed. So
I mean, the only update to tell you is that our 5 colleagues who were kidnapped continue to be held, and we're working as hard as we can with various interlocutors to try to secure their release.
And the third question is concerning Syria, because last Sunday the permanent representative France accepted an interview called the Syria. It describing the political and constitutional process as a joke. So it seems like everybody's still talking about the constitutional committee and also talking about to solve the Syrian crisis, which lasted
I
over.
I have
10
not
years.
seen I've not seen that interview. I
Yeah.
would refer you
It's-
to no, I don't doubt your I just haven't seen it, and I would refer you back to what Mr. Pedersen himself said on the importance of the next round, which he intends to call soon. Philippe.
Merci Stéphane. On Ukraine, are you still in the same position not to evacuate or to relocate UN employees?
I think just to the situation is as follows: is that we are and we are continuing to be committed to staying and delivering in Ukraine, especially in eastern Ukraine. Our operations continue to be fully operational. Our staff numbers is not really changing in that part, including internationals and nationals. We had a convoy of about 12 trucks that crossed the line of contact on Friday after some difficulties that were ruled out. We are, as a result of the evolving situation on the ground, we've allowed for temporary relocation of some non-essential staff and some dependents. At the same time, we have more staff coming in, right, to support our operations. I think one has to understand that there are, Kiev is a family duty station. Obviously, there are things going on that are outside of our control that make it difficult sometimes for families to remain. So the point is, staff in the eastern part of the Ukraine remains unchanged, internationals and nationals. More staff is coming into Ukraine to support the UN's operations. Some people who have, for personal reasons, need to be temporarily moved out are being moved out.
So you have more than 1,661 employees now?
At this point, the latest numbers that I have is overall total in Ukraine is 2,696. We have about 100 personnel who are operating in the eastern Ukraine, both nationals and internationals. I'll come back to you in a second. Gregory.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Does the Secretary General have any plans to contact with Russian and Ukrainian foreign ministers? Thank you.
Sorry?
Does Secretary General have any plans to contact in near future with Ukrainian and Russian foreign ministers?
He will be in contact as necessary. No new contacts since what we previously announced. Senora.
Stefan, today was known that a letter was sent to Michelle Bachelet from the ambassador of the United States at the office in Geneva. And they're alerting the United Nations, and specifically the High Commissioners for Human Rights, of the possibility of the actions of the Russian government if they were to invade Ukraine. According to the letter, they have credible information that indicates the Russian forces are creating a list of unidentified Ukrainians.
So, I mean, what I can confirm is that the letter has been received by our human rights colleagues in Geneva, and it is, so any questions should go to them. Obviously, for us, it's critical that all governments contribute to the de-escalation of tensions in engaging in diplomacy in good faith. I just want to correct something on the numbers, because the actual number of staff is 1,510. The greater number I gave you included dependents. So just UN staff, to be clear, is 1,510 in Ukraine currently.
Just a quick
A
quick follow-up to the letter that was sent by the United States. In the letter, they were very specific about the plans and camps, torture, killings. What a message does that send to the world when we're seeing these type of reports and letters coming into?
Look, we have, we've seen a lot of reports about different things happening in different places. We don't have any independent information to that. The letter was sent to Madame Bachelet, I think, to share with members of the Human Rights Council. We are on the ground in eastern Ukraine delivering humanitarian aid. Our human rights colleagues, as you know, also have a human rights monitoring mission. They report back regularly. So we can only speak and confirm about what we know or what we've been, or if information has been shared with us. Edie, please.
Steph, can you break down the 1,510 staff internationals and internationals?
So that is about 149 internationals and about 1,361 nationals. Those numbers will fluctuate, as I mentioned, as we are moving more people in, and a few, because of personal family reasons, will be leaving temporarily.
And of nationals and internationals, there are about 100 in eastern Ukraine.
Exactly. So out of that, there are 100 who operate in Donetsk and Luhansk, and that's 100 internationals and nationals. Frank.
Yeah, earlier.
Yeah, your microphone, please, sir.
Earlier, when you read your first statement about Ukraine, you had a line in there about the targeting of civilians and infrastructure. Who is doing the targeting? Do you have specific information on who that is?
No, I do not have any specific information.
And where does that report come from?
These are reports that we have of ceasefire violations and information that we have, but that's as far as we can tell.
From UN personnel?
It's all I can tell you is that information that we are confident enough in that we're sharing with you. Okay. I see some of our friends on the far side. Pam, are you connected? Hold on a second. I need to get the volume up a little bit. If we can get the volume up in the room. Pam, try again.
Trying.
Perfect.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Steph. My question's about the letter from the U.S. to OHCHR asking, documenting that they have credible evidence that there is, that there will be detention and killing of Ukrainian civilians. Can you comment on that, please?
Yeah, I mean, I maybe you're not heard, but one of your colleagues just asked the question. What I can tell you is that the letter was indeed received from the United States to the High Commissioner for Human Rights Office. You know, we've received letters from different member states. I think last week there was a letter from the Russian Federation to the Secretary General for circulation to the Security Council. That was done. We have no way of corroborating or not of the information contained in the letter. It's part of our role as Secretariat to receive letters and to circulate them. It is obviously important that everyone involved contribute to the de-escalation of tensions by engaging in diplomacy and dialogue. Okay. I don't see any other questions. I shall see you all demain, as we say in my mother tongue.